is a big episode, babe.
Yes, it is.
This
Yes, it is.
this is one of those milestone moments that is somewhat surreal, actually.
Yeah, to hit 700 is surreal.
I'm just thinking through because this month of October in 2024. Welcome to Sexy Marriage Radio, by the way, and welcome to the 700th episode that we're celebrating, and also going to throw in a little topic that's come up that is interesting as it pertains to non-sexual touch versus sexual touch and interactions that happen in married life, because you and I have shockingly completely different stances on this thing.
Yeah, that'll be fun to chat about.
So we'll do that here in just a few moments. But just thinking through the fact that how Sexy Marriage Radio started, October here of 2024 is the 13th birthday of SMR,
okay,
as well as 700 and the episodes.
And it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
Totally amazing.
I'm really proud of you and the work you've put in to this and the passion and I think it comes through over the podcast, but it's evident how much you love a relationship, how passionate you are about this, and how you want good things for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's been the mission all the way through. That what we want to have happen, Sexy Marriage Radio, is to help frame conversations and ignite some passions and some energies and some sparks, even in the relationships where there's major trouble. Because if there's one thing that's rung true, I'm jumping ahead a little bit because we're going to do some celebration with some words that we've got from the nation. We've taken some snippets of voicemails that came in because there were a lot of people that wanted to join in and celebrate with us. And so we've picked a couple to use as part of this party that we're having today. But then we're also going to talk about some of the takeaways that have come up over the years of doing these shows.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is recognizing it doesn't really matter the state of your relationship. When one person really sees a different way and gets a little different energy or hope or spark, man, it can create some huge benefits for both. And so what we love is the fact that this is a relationship, right? A relationship with the nation, relationship with you and I.
Yeah.
And then I would be amiss if I did not also honor some of the people throughout the years that have helped make this happen. Because episode 700, that's not just an accident. that's quite a lot of time. And so quick history lesson, Sexy Marriage Radio began with Gina Paris as my co-host back in the days when you were my editor in a lot of ways with everything I was writing. And then you would listen to the episodes and then even stop listening for a little while during that season.
Yeah, I couldn't know what was going on in your head. And the editing, the funny thing here is, for people that don't know, I would read his articles, I would read everything. And for me, you got to dumb it down. Like it's got to be on 4th grade level for me. And so I'm like, I don't understand. And so that is what actually initially sparked a lot of our conversations about relationship, about personal development, and how to be a better me. So that was a lot of fun for me. I mean, actually, some days it wasn't fun for me. I'm like, I don't get it. And I was frustrated because I didn't get it.
Which made it not fun for me because I'm like, how can you not understand this? It makes so much sense in my mind.
Yeah, it's so common sense.
But Gina Paris was huge because without her willingness, courage, vulnerability, because she was the co-host for 2 years.
Yeah.
So 100 episodes. We got this thing off the ground, started building the nation. We didn't know what it was at that point. It was just, this is just good information. Let's just keep talking about it. And then transitions happened with her and her personal life.
Yeah.
And that's when, after a short little season, then met Shannon Ethridge. And she was huge in the power and energy and voice she brought to the show, which really helped frame a lot of where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely.
4.5 years with Shannon.
Yeah.
And a lot of episodes, a lot of content. That's also how The Getaway started, was largely at her urging and poking and prodding. So thank you for that, Shannon.
Exactly.
But no, it took us to a completely different level.
Right. And then you brought in some help behind the scenes, Jessica and Jessica.
Yeah, the Jessicas were huge
Nicole.
around that time, and Nicole
Yep.
came in as well.
Yeah. But the finding guests and Jessica now with all the interaction on the platform and the academy is absolutely invaluable.
Completely important to the
Helping
mission
build
and
the community.
Yeah. What's happened then after Shannon, when you came on board. So it's been 4 or 5 years now of you and I, as well as the smattering of guests that come through.
Yeah.
It's also around the same time the community started really taking shape and becoming the nation.
Yeah.
And so it's been so wonderful to look at this whole evolution of, it's not just us getting behind the microphone. It's a lot of things that make this thing happen. And
yeah,
one of the biggest reasons is because of the nation and because of their continual interaction with us, their continual support, and then frankly, their continual support of each other.
Absolutely. And you'll hear that in some of the voicemails that we've got coming up.
Absolutely. And so the things that I love is when you look at Sexy Marriage Radio, as the host that's been through every single, I mean, that's 700 episodes. I have been on 700 episodes.
Woohoo!
It's pretty amazing. And the thing I love the most, I think, just out of grit factor, is we have not missed a week. 700 consecutive episodes without missing a week.
Yes. I mean, some of them have been best ofs. So I have to, we throw in a best of, but we still get the episode out.
There's still a regular rhythm
yes,
that happens even in the midst of what all goes on with life.
Yeah.
In a portable studio that we're in right now, as far in between homes. But it's so cool to think that because of the way technology is, because of the way people are, and the support that we get as members of the Academy, are continually being a part of this on a deeper level. Members of the extended content are a deeper level, and then just the nation in its entirety, with the emails that come in to feedback@sexymarriageradio.com, the voicemails that come in that give the content and the interaction, and then even what we're trying to get off the ground now of the call-ins, of where we want even more deep connections, to where we can have more data, which shout out to those that have already called in, and we want more, because we want to try to keep creating that as the next 700 unfold.
Right. Make it even more valuable.
But the thing that's also really cool is the fact that when you think about Sexy Marriage Radio and how it's really aimed at marriage, there's also a lot of listeners through all the years, like this voicemail, that are currently in between and wanted to be a part of the celebration with us.
Hi, Pam and Corey. Just wanted to reach out to you guys. I live here in Norman, Oklahoma. I wanted to just let you guys know what a blessing. I am just so thrilled that I get to hear so many topics relating to sex on your podcasts, and there are things that are so relatable. Wanted to let you know I have been married before for almost 28 years. Now I am in a relationship with a gentleman who believes, as I do, in the Lord, and wanting to do the honorable thing and abstaining from sexual relations until being married. A year and a half ago, when we first started seeing each other, we were quite physical. I was really convicted at a point where I just told him, this needs to, we need to halt doing this stuff. If we are really serious about each other and we want the Lord's blessings, hearing your podcast and looking forward to being married, I can't wait. I am the one with a high libido, and it's been really interesting and challenging hearing some of your topics and kind of renewing some of my attitudes about some things. and also being able to pray for not just myself, but for my boyfriend, that I think there are going to be some things that we're going to have to deal with and maybe talk about, well, definitely talk about. But I love listening to your podcast, and you guys have helped me so much. So thank you, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
It's amazing that the fact that relationships are just relationships in a lot of ways. Right? There's all the different stages, but we're always in relationship. The importance
Hopefully.
of
Yeah.
well, whether it's a marriage or you're in between and it's girlfriend, boyfriend, or even if it's you're single.
I'm just talking life in general with the relationship, right? We're meant to be in a relationship, I think.
Yes, we are. Okay, now I get
that's what my hopefully was for. Okay. We're meant to be in a relationship. And I think that a lot of what you've established and what you go over, while sex is the topic that pulls people in a lot of times, it's really not ultimately what your podcast is about, right? It's about being a better you,
right? And
breaking down the elements of yourself to, would I want to be married to me? And then the sex life gets better and all those things. But she, she's looking at that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm excited for her and what is to come for her and her relationship.
Yeah. And that reminds me of the conversation that Jessica and I had not too long ago about when she first found us too. And so Jessica, I'm calling you out here because it's a great phrase of when you found us, however many years ago it was. And when we first met via the phone, you told me flat out, when I first started listening, I really hated you because I came here because I wanted my spouse fixed, and you wouldn't answer those questions and help me do that. You made me have to deal with me. I didn't want to do that.
Good job really opening up your eyes and your ears and listening, girl.
Exactly. And that's what changes everything, because I think it's recognizing the mission we have is the betterment of people, which then happily turns into, hopefully, the betterment of relationships.
And let's change the world that way.
Totally. One relationship at a time. And so here's a few other voices that have jumped in wanting to be a part of this as well.
Corey, congratulations on the 700th episode. Your work is transforming lives, man. I know it changed mine. And mainly it's because of who you are and your integrity to the mission that you have and what you're doing. Activating what it is to be a better husband, a better father, and frankly, a better man. And you and Pam on the show together make a dynamic duo, and it's just a fantastic thing that you guys are bringing into the world. Proud of you. MF, brother.
SMR has helped me become a better man, husband, and father. I'm confident I'd not be in the place that I am in life without the wonderful resource that you have so diligently worked at over the past 13 years. Thank you for your dedication to the work God has put on your heart. Congratulations on your 700th episode, Corey. All the best to you and Pam. Blessings.
Yeah, quick shout out to the last two that are people I've done a lot of life with because of mastermind groups. There's an element of doing life with men on a deeper level, like the mastermind groups afford us to do, that even though I'm the one that maybe has quote unquote led them or started them, they still are so impactful to me because it's doing life on a deep level with people.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly helpful. And then we also have the chance to have had history with several members of the Academy. And so a couple jumped in on this one as well.
Perfect.
Hey, Corey, congrats on episode 700. It doesn't feel like that long ago that we were celebrating with you episode 600. Was that episode 500? I don't know. It's all great. I continue to appreciate the opportunity that SMR and the Academy gives my wife and I to learn, be challenged, and hope we are becoming more solid, flexible selves. And I also appreciate that you continue your non-judgmental and no topic is off the table approach to the show. Until episode 800, keep at it.
Here's to 700 more. Or 800, or getting to 800. That's already. Maybe I'm jumping way ahead there, babe. And then there's an email that came in that from Steve that he found us in 2019 on a road trip. He was perusing his podcast feed and he found Sexy Marriage Radio and he liked that name. So he just had to listen to at least one. And needless to say, after the first one, he was hooked. So over the years, you and your guests have given us the opportunity to have conversations we never would have thought to have on our own. It shined lights on many areas that are less than favorable parts of my personality, and it gave me a path to be a better husband and father. Listening together has given us an entryway into talking about sensitive topics. These conversations allowed us to expose parts of us that maybe weren't going to come out in another way. We've often discussed our podcast with our adult sons, which is awesome, and have had some amazing conversations, and I love this, and a few awkward ones. Your tagline suggests it's a show about sex, but in reality, it's a show about how sex fits into a good marriage. All things considered, my wife and I have a great relationship. And when asked why we listen to this podcast, I answer, because we want to keep having a great relationship, and that takes work and intentionality. We've had the privilege of attending 2 of your getaways and participate in the monthly coaching calls. It's allowed us to get you to know you in a way I never expected. You always listen when I push back or question something you've said, and respond in a way that lets me know you're actually listening. That alone is something I deeply appreciate. I know this endeavor has not always been easy on you or your family. Never doubt the impact the show has had on those fortunate enough to find it. Continue to find this. We hope to continue to journey with you for many more years to come, Steve and Tina. And I love the members, because I don't say this flippantly. I mean, you know me from off the air too, obviously. But I don't say it flippantly when I make the comments to the nation of, if we've left something undone or you don't agree, I want to know. I love that pushback, because it helps me be better. Because that's kind of how we started the show today, of when you were the editor and you're like, I don't understand. I don't love it, but I realize the benefit of it. Let's phrase it that way.
Yeah, because if I don't understand, someone else doesn't understand.
Exactly.
This is iron sharpening iron. Yeah,
I don't love the tension, but I do love what it produces.
Exactly.
And so that kind of interaction, which I could always count on Steve and Tina with in this, that they will come back at me with, wait, you missed it here, dude. Explain this. And that's a fantastic dialogue, because that's life.
Yeah. Well, we love thoughtful people that thoughtful in a way that you think through things, and what's the plus, what's the minus, is this right, is it wrong? I'm not just going to take what somebody says and take it as scripture. I mean, is it right? And let's be better together. Let's talk through these things.
And then we've also had a member that's been around for a long time as well, that he wanted to jump in with his thoughts. He covers everybody with this one.
Hey, Corey. Brian here. Wow, 700 episodes? How do you do it? I came searching for answers for our ailing sex life, but found out very quickly from your diverse content what I really was looking for and desperately needed was much deeper, and that my wife didn't need fixing. This began my long journey. When I called in to celebrate episode 500, I thought you'd probably hit your peak with regard to fresh and relevant content. What else could you cover after 500 episodes? But you just keep cranking them out. And this while running your practice, raising a family, dealing with aging parents, working on your own marriage relationship, and now building a house. Listening to a few of the past few weeks' episodes on regression were especially eye-opening and relevant to so many areas of our life. Thanks for your tireless efforts. Pam, your role as co-host brings an invaluable perspective. While I initially started listening solo and binge listened to catch up, I slowly trapped Alice and gradually brought her on board by playing select SMR episodes as we would travel. Initially, she was dismissive or silent at best and would ask me, "What's this, another one of your sex podcasts?" When we got to the podcast where you began co-hosting, it was a game changer for her. Having the podcast host's wife presenting a wife's heart and perspective somehow gave the show more credibility in her eyes. Now we listen to every episode together, often at her suggestion. She appreciates you being there vicariously, representing all the women in the nation. Thanks for your vulnerability and allowing us all to watch, listen in as you both work out some of your own issues live. Not many women wives would do this. And finally, to the SMR Nation, not sure how much longer this 68-year-old guy is going to be much help to anyone, but I want you to know I've learned so much from all of you and have developed relationships I couldn't have forged anywhere else. I mean, where else can you have these meaningful, in-depth conversations about sex from a Christian perspective? Nowhere I know of. Some of you I've only interacted with online. Some I've had the privilege of meeting at the getaways. And some of you we've actually been inspired to drive long distances to meet. Alice and I have found more than friends here. We found a family. Thanks for allowing us to be a part of your family.
I piggyback off of what Brian was just sharing here and give you kudos, babe, for the journey the last 5-6 years on the air with you, because it has been one of those things that there's two sides to this. And then I'm going to pivot into kind of get our takeaways of 700 episodes and all the years that we've been doing this together. To watch the evolution of you a lot of ways, personally and professionally, if you will, for what you do with the show and the getaways and the business that we have. You couldn't have a better partner.
Thank you.
In that, because just seeing the confidence, the courage, the vulnerability, the reactions that are real, but not the judgmental, how dare yous. It's a reaction that's real, but it also is bathed in love and respect. And having watched that evolve, totally impressed and respecting even more and more, baby.
I appreciate it. Thanks for being a good lead.
Trying to, and that leads to the takeaways.
All right, let's roll.
That what I have found over the 700 episodes, we've kind of hinted at several of these already, but these are just a couple. There's probably tons. If I spent some time and just sat down and kept writing. But here's the ones that jumped out, because I think this fits not just for what we do here as a show, but for life.
Okay.
Right. So one is be consistent. If you commit to something, consistently do it. And this, if one thing this show has taught me, it's just the importance of consistency. Just consistently show up, consistently do what you've said you will do. The other is just be helpful, right? Serve others, put others before yourself, be helpful. We all are gifted in various ways. The nation is gifted in coming back with some things we've not thought of, or being able to put something into a frame that's like, oh, that's great. And that's this relationship dynamic of being helpful and being willing to help those around them. And this is what we've seen in the nation, in the academy, where there's a lot of the aspect of our platform that my.smr.fm runs because of Jessica's helpfulness and engagement, but also because of everybody that's there. There's constant comments or quotes or statements that are given, and other people chime in. And by the time I get there, it's like, you guys have answered it all. I mean, that's
awesome.
All I would be doing is saying ditto to what Judy said, or ditto to what Brian said, or Chuck, or all these. There's a valuable group of people in there that are really engaging and helping each other. This is one that we've had as trying to be more and more diligent with, but the other is share your life with others.
That one is such a key to me. I think that so many people think no one wants to hear, or they think they're alone. That's a big one, like in our re-engage ministry, right? At church.
Absolutely.
In people sharing their testimony.
Yeah.
And we all know that there's a fine line of, don't just go up and start blabbing your info, because
don't be a me monster.
Don't be a me monster, and it's all about me. But we do like when we're in a relationship, that's how we get to know one another, and that's how we know we're not alone, and let others know they're not alone. So, I love that point. Well,
and this is where even Brian mentioned in his voicemail, and we've heard several times, or I've heard specifically too from several listeners over the years, that the evolution of Sexy Marriage Radio with Gina, and then Shannon was professionals on the mic. And then because we were all in the space of helping marriages specifically professionally in some way,
sure,
as coaches, as therapists, as authors, something to that effect. And then when you came in, it added a different element to the show, because it's our relationship. And so we try to be diligent about being real with and sharing our life too.
Yeah.
It was a little bumps in the road, because I think some people really did love the professional dynamic that happens back then.
Yeah, understandable.
And you and I had lots of behind the scenes conversations about, I don't know if, and it's just because we're working it out. And there was also, frankly, which leads to my other component of this, was disruptive when you first came on the mic regularly, because like, you're invading my space. This is what I do.
Yeah. Wait, this is my world.
And so behind the scenes pushback that we would have just naturally in our relationship became on the air, as far as getting shows prepped and getting ideas that we want to work through. And even your framework of, wait, I don't follow. But then you started hearing from members of the nation, like, Pam, that when you said I didn't understand, it was perfect timing, because I didn't understand either, because you were the voice of people that weren't getting it. Because I try to, it makes sense in my brain. That doesn't mean it'll make sense to everybody else. Yeah. So the fact of sharing our lives with each other has added a different flavor. And I've really enjoyed that.
I have too.
Of having that dynamic that can translate, which also then leads to the idea of, another takeaway was, be open and curious, and then take feedback constructively. Take whatever I learn as an opportunity to learn.
Absolutely.
Right? That's that phrase of, I'm either right or I'm learning.
Right? Exactly.
Right. So just seeing it as, how do I continue that thread in everything in life? That be curious about stuff. Like I think I might know, but I may not. So I have the courage to put it out there and then learn. And then the last takeaway, this should be obvious because this is kind of a theme that we've talked about already, is relationships make us better. Right?
Yeah, they do.
A good relationship really does make better people. And even bad ones are in the process of making better people. And it really then comes down to, how am I approaching it? What am I doing in accordance to what's going on in the dynamic? Because I can learn from it.
I've got to come into it with that filter, though. It can't just be the woe is me, I'm in a terrible relationship.
Yeah.
I've got to come into it with the filter of being ready to be moldable and shaped and learn.
Right. That's the courage to ask myself the better questions of, what's my part in this? How do I face that? And then also, what's the dynamic?
Yeah.
Because just because somebody wants something different doesn't mean anything's wrong. It is an opportunity to enhance to where I can maybe get to where there's a marriage where there's room for both people.
Yeah.
Completely. What they want for themselves, what they want for each other. And there's room for all of that. And then that's also an element of the relationship that we have with the nation has just made us better.
Sure.
Because of the support they offer us, the egging on and encouragement they offer us, and then even
seeing the encouragement they offer one another, that's uplifting.
Thank you. Yeah. But it's that element of, that is a relationship too that we have, because we'll have people that'll direct message because they've picked up on something like, you guys seem like this, and it's always spot on. I mean, through the course of Sexy Marriage Radio, there are people that are paying attention and have the courage to invest in us too.
Yeah.
And that relationship is so incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
And so I say thank you to you, Babe, and to the nation, and to the Jessicas, and to Nicole, and to Shannon, and to Gina for 700 episodes.
Absolutely.
Because that's a milestone that we would not be without the help of and the support of a bunch of people.
Right.
And so here's to 700 more, love.
Absolutely.
So then I want to pivot before we run out of time, because everybody's going to get the full show if you haven't figured this out already. This is a celebration show, but this is a fun little thought process, I think, to walk through, because in a group I was running just recently, a topic came up about the idea of non-sexual touch, like the husband can be the more affectionate one. And so the idea of, I love the physical touch. Hugs is obviously a way to garner quite a bit of touch.
Sure.
That there's no groping involved necessarily.
It doesn't have to be sexual.
Right. It's not sexual at all. And so he was framing this dialogue on, I'll come up behind her when she's washing dishes and I'll hug her, and she just freezes.
Okay.
Right. Which then begged the question in my mind, and I don't know why I've never thought of this before, because I will do this to you. I'll come up when you're cooking or just standing and hug you from behind. And for whatever reason, it jumped out in my mind. Wait a second. there's no one else in the world I'm going to hug from behind.
Fair point.
It's
So
just
you-
a- it's
so you
just a
brought this
spouse,
up in
right?
the-
So I'm like,
in the-
okay, fellas, if we meet in person, none of us are greeting each other hugging from behind.
Right.
So how is that not sexual? Because the one context where we do this is most likely the relationship that is sexual, or we hope
Right.
it is at least.
Right. Yes, that's a fair question.
So it's just kind of like, wow, never put that together. And then that led to a conversation with you and I about when I do this to you,
Yeah.
size.
Okay, I need the emails in from people, from the ladies at feedback. How many of you like being hugged from behind? Because I can't stand it.
News to me. This was
Yeah, I can't stand it, especially when I'm washing the dishes, because then my arms are trapped. I just want to get the dishes done. That is not a time for me to sit there and embrace. And I couldn't even embrace you because you're behind me. So I don't like the hug from behind, especially when the dishes are being done. I just want to get the dishes done and move on. But even like the only time I think I would like a hug from behind, I'm thinking, okay, when we went to the U2 concert, we were standing room only.
Oh,
We
it's
were
true.
watching the music. You're behind me, come up and hug me. And there's something in front of us that we're focusing on. And that was kind of fun. Outside of a situation like that, I can't participate in this backward hug. It's a one-sided, and I'm just sitting here looking forward, like, what can I do? So that's why I don't like the from the back hug.
Okay.
So maybe that's what the freeze comes from. Can you tell I'm passionate about this one?
I'm picking up on that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you told me about it, and I was like, oh, I have all this pent up things to
Right.
say.
It's like it unleashed a waterfall of things that came through.
I kind of related with the wife. I'm like, I totally get that. Maybe she froze because she just can't stand the behind the back hug. So give me some feedback on that one, people.
Feedback at sexymarriageradio.com or 214-702-9565. Because it is interesting, because there's this element of, I can see it as, wait, I'm not coming in for a grope. I'm coming in for a hug. And that's a time when I have a captive audience, if you will.
Sure.
And so it's so interesting, because both sides of this equation, there's merit to both sides. And I guess what matters then is, what does each person prefer? And how do I learn from what my spouse doesn't prefer or prefers, right?
Well, and I got to be willing to speak up if I don't like it
Yes.
in a not so terrible way.
Although coming up from behind you, hugging you while cooking or washing dishes or what have you, and you freezing is communicating
It is
something
communicating.
pretty clearly.
Okay,
it's just, how am I willing to accept what's being communicated and see it as, well, okay, maybe my timing is off, rather than, oh, why are you so cold? Because that's what we can easily do.
Well, then, okay, so then it's up to you to ask the question. Wait, I noticed you froze there.
Mm-hmm.
What's that saying to me? And just literally put words to it to ask, because there may be something telling that comes from that.
Maybe so.
Use words.
Maybe.
Don't make an assumption on it.
Maybe so. And so it's just, we would love to throw this out to the audience, just to know where do you land in this. Jump on the chat, and as far as in the platform, that'll get posted towards the end. We'll just put a segment for it, hopefully, or feedback sexymarriageradio.com, because we know that this dynamic, we're not the only ones.
We're not. Or leave a call. It could be some funny responses next week.
Well, baby, this has been fun, as always is when we get a chance to be on the mic together, because selfishly speaking, I get the benefit, like I mentioned earlier, of watching the evolution of you, but I also get the benefit of having a captive audience with you when we do our shows.
It's a fun time together, isn't it?
And it's a chance for us to wrestle with some things, and I'll come clean that some of the subjects we will cover are things that I think we should probably be facing, and it's easier to do it when we're on the mic with each other, right?
Fair. I'm okay with that.
Because I definitely get some benefit out of that.
I do too.
That really can help enhance not only our show, but our marriage, because this is one of those things that's what drives me is you in our relationship. And I want far more than 700 more episodes with you, baby. So.
Exactly.
Well, this has been Sexy Marriage Radio. Thanks for joining episode 700 and sharing the celebration with us. It's not too late. Jump on the Nation platform and celebrate with us there too, because we'll be hanging out there some this week as well. If we left something undone or you missed that you want to jump in, particularly you love hugs from behind, because I know Pam does, with what I just heard her say.
You're not listening.
I missed that point. Feedback sexymarriageradio.com or 214-702-9565 is our voicemail line. So the advertisers deals and discount codes for the episodes you can find at smr.fm. So please consider supporting those who help support the show. So however you took some time out to celebrate with us today, thanks. We hope to see you next time.